In line with India's Act East policy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to visit Brunei and Singapore this week. These visits to Southeast Asia are expected to be deeply business and growth-oriented. Defense and strategic cooperation are also on the agenda. So let's talk about these upcoming visits and why they're significant. First up, Singapore. It is a major highlight of the Prime Minister's Southeast Asia tour. According to Singapore's Foreign Minister, Vivian Balakrishnan, a recently concluded high-level meeting between top Indian cabinet ministers with their Singaporean counterparts has laid the groundwork for Modi's visit. Earlier in August, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav were all in Singapore for a roundtable meeting with their counterparts. This sheds light on the sheer extent of deals planned out ahead of Modi's visit. You see, Singapore can participate in India's growth story using its financial heft and advanced technologies. India is spending record amounts on infrastructure development, and this is where Singapore can be involved to build Indian cities. Singapore, a global financial powerhouse known for its towering skyscrapers and efficient governance, is a city-state located at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, which is a strategic maritime hub that links major trade routes between Asia, Europe, and beyond. With a population of just over 5 million and an area only half the size of Delhi, Singapore may be small, but its influence is anything but. One of the 4 Asian tigers, Singapore has grown phenomenally since its independence in 1965 and is an economic marvel for all to see. Its nominal GDP is almost $500 billion. It was $466 billion in 2022. Its per capita income is somewhere over $84,000, which is higher than any other ASEAN nation. ASEAN, that is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Meanwhile, Singapore is much more than just a financial hub. It is also a prominent trade and logistics hub. Located on the Strait of Malacca, Singapore is at the crossroads of major global shipping routes connecting the Indian Ocean with the South China Sea and the larger Pacific Ocean. As China's belligerence in the South China Sea grows, India is strengthening ties with key Southeast Asian nations like Singapore. And the two nations are historically and culturally also linked. Singapore is one of the Indianized lands that had been part of what is called the Indosphere for centuries. In fact, Singapore's name, which translates into Lion City, is actually derived from an ancient Indian language, Sanskrit. Tamil is one of the 4 official languages here, and there is a very large Indian diaspora living in Singapore and involved in nation building. In the field of defense, they cooperate intensely. Defense collaboration is in fact the cornerstone of this relationship. India and Singapore regularly conduct joint naval exercises like the SIMBEX, which have become increasingly sophisticated over the years. Singapore allows the Indian Air Force to use its bases for training. The Indian Navy has access to its Changi naval base, which helps India maintain its naval presence in the strategically crucial region. The two nations signed an agreement in 2017 which allows ships from both navies to refuel, restock and rearm at each other's military bases. That's significant. Meanwhile, on the trade front, Singapore is India's second largest trading partner in the ASEAN region, with bilateral trade exceeding $30 billion. Key sectors include advanced manufacturing, semiconductors, and financial services. Meanwhile, Singapore's investors are investing heavily in India. The city-state is one of the largest sources of foreign direct investment in India, in fact. The recent link-up between Singapore's PayNow and India's UPI is a game-changer as well, facilitating instant cross-border transactions. Now imagine transferring money across borders in real time. This is the future of financial connectivity, and India is leading the charge alongside Singapore. With India's aviation sector poised to grow exponentially as well, over 1,000 aircraft are on order in fact, Singapore's expertise in aviation services like maintenance and air operations presents immense opportunities for collaboration. The two nations are also working closely on maritime connectivity, enhancing regional supply chains. Now, Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong has expressed optimism about Modi's visit, highlighting new areas of cooperation that could lead to closer strategic ties between the two nations. The future potential for foreign direct investment, for example, from Singapore into India is immense, particularly in sectors like aviation and maritime connectivity. After gaining independence in 1965, Singapore faced threats from China-backed communist movements as well as potential domination by Malaysia and Indonesia. To counter these risks, Singapore sought a close strategic partnership with India, viewing it as a counterbalance to all these powers, especially Chinese influence. The country, whose political heft outweighs its size, supported India during the 1965 war with Pakistan and continues its support on the Kashmir conflict. It also works together with India against terror financing. Now, Singapore's strategic location makes it a key partner in countering China's Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI. Both countries are keen on ensuring that the Indo-Pacific remains open, free and inclusive. This visit by PM Modi, therefore, is expected to deepen these collaborations, setting the stage for a new era of India-Singapore relations. And next, we move to Brunei, an oil-rich Islamic nation that might not always be in the headlines, but plays a crucial role in India's Act East policy. Located on the northern coast of the Borneo Island, Brunei offers India a strategic entry point into the South China Sea, a region that's becoming increasingly contested. Although Brunei is small, but it is rich thanks to its vast reserves of oil and natural gas, which power its economy. In recent years, India has been strengthening its defense ties with Brunei. Indian naval and coast guard ships frequently visit Brunei, and Indian defense companies participated in Brunei's Defense Industry Expo for the first time this year. These ties are crucial as India looks to counter China's growing influence in the region. Bilateral trade between India and Brunei is modest but growing, particularly in sectors like oil and gas. Indian companies are becoming increasingly involved in Brunei's energy sector, and there's potential for further collaboration, especially in renewable energy. With a small yet significant Indian diaspora in Brunei, the people-to-people ties add another layer to this relationship. These Indian expatriates play key roles in Brunei's oil and gas industry, further strengthening the bond between the two nations. Now, these two visits are not just about bilateral ties. They're about strengthening India's position within the ASEAN, a region that's becoming increasingly crucial in global geopolitics. India's ties with the ASEAN have been on an upswing, particularly in the areas of trade and defense. India is ASEAN's seventh largest trading partner, with bilateral trade crossing $110 billion. Defense ties are also deepening, with joint exercises and defense sales, particularly with countries like Vietnam and the Philippines. Yes, of late, India has broken into the regional arms market in Southeast Asia. In April this year, India delivered the first batch of the BrahMos missiles to the Philippines as part of a $375 million deal. This is India's largest defense export deal to date. Under this agreement, India will supply the Philippine Marine Corps with 3 batteries of these cruise missiles. You see, China's aggressive posturing in the South China Sea has made the ASEAN wary, and countries in the region are increasingly looking to India as a counterbalance. India's outreach through its Act East policy, combined with its growing economic and military capabilities, makes it a natural partner for ASEAN nations looking to diversify their strategic options. PM Modi's visit to Singapore and Brunei, therefore, will set the stage for even closer ties with ASEAN, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. As India continues to rise, its relationship with ASEAN will be crucial in shaping the future of this dynamic region, and therefore PM Modi's visit to this region will be watched closely around the world.